4 is out, and looks like they needed Henry after all. 56% critic score, 17% audience score, and if you're like, well, I really trust the critics, the audience is probably just review bombing it, then you're gonna have to explain why the top critics is 33% as well. That means 2/3 of them didn't think it was above a 5.
But yeah, so now apparently the audience scores are down to 17%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw The Witcher Blood Origin, and Jesus Christ. Yeah. Like, I was watching that for my channel, and I couldn't make it past the second episode. It was shocking how bad it was. And I was expecting it to be bad, and I was still kind of surprised, like, Jesus Christ, this is something else. It's like a woke fever dream, and it's abysmally made.
That's what killed me on The Witcher, ultimately.
Promote this thing until a month before it came out. They knew that switching from like Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, as downhill as the franchise has gone, everybody knew that even they knew it'd be shit. Were we expecting this? Witcher Season 4 is sitting at 17% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes right now. And I mean, look, the critics are pretty so-so on it as well. Some critics have been lambasting it, but overwhelmingly the fan base who has had an opportunity to watch it has wholeheartedly rejected this thing.
When Henry Cavill announced he was leaving The Witcher, the internet didn't just react, it exploded. This wasn't just another actor walking away from a role. This was the man fans had crowned the perfect Geralt, someone who had embodied the soul of the character with almost sacred precision. For millions of viewers, it felt like the heart of the show had been ripped out. But what most people didn't realize at first was that this wasn't a sudden decision. It wasn't about a scheduling conflict or creative differences. This was a slow-burning implosion that started years before the headlines ever hit.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way. And he
spends the first like 10 to 20 minutes of the show trying to make you forget about Henry Cavill. They do everything they can to retcon it. I was shocked. They show Henry Cavill in multiple scenes, like when they're recapping, and they won't show his face. And then they reshot sequences that had Henry Cavill in it with Liam Hemsworth, so they could like completely erase him from everything. They redo the fight with the, oh my gosh, what is it called? The Ekimara?
So what really happened behind the camera? Why would someone so devoted to the story and the fans abandon it at its peak? As fans began digging through old interviews and cryptic statements, a darker picture began to emerge. One of frustration, broken trust, and a production that had lost sight of what made the story special in the first place. But to understand why Henry Cavill walked away, we need to go back to where it all started, when The Witcher looked like it could become the next global fantasy phenomenon. Before the drama, there was excitement and pure fandom. Henry Cavill wasn't cast because he was a famous name, he was cast because he fought for the role. A lifelong gamer and fantasy nerd, Cavill had played The Witcher 3 long before Netflix ever announced the show. When he heard the series was being made, he didn't wait for his agent. He personally called Netflix and made his case to play Geralt of Rivia. That passion, raw and genuine, is what made fans believe he was The Witcher.
I have always looked at fan reactions, whether they be fully supportive or negative or aggressive or whatever they may be, as passion. Fans are just passionate. I'm a fan.
For other positive reviews, well, you've got IGN, that's never a good sign, and as Critical Drinker says, they can't exactly be trusted when The Penguin got a 5, The Witcher got a 7, and The Marvels got an 8. It basically looks like their score goes up the more girl power a series has.
Siri.
Although they did give Willow a 9, so there are times when they absolutely knock it out of the park. I think the strangest of the positives is CBR though. Liam Hemsworth Geralt silences the haters. What, you mean like the critics? Do you mean the professional top critics? They've been silenced, yes. Probably because they left and didn't finish the series. They're not watching any more of this tripe. That's why they don't need to talk about it anymore. This season of The Witcher is make or break for...
And from the first moment he stepped on screen, it was clear he wasn't just acting. Cavill had studied the lore, the dialogue, even Geralt's silent moments. He knew the weight behind every grunt, every moral dilemma, every sword swing. Fans praised his portrayal as game accurate, calling him the most faithful adaptation of a fantasy hero in years. For a brief time, The Witcher felt unstoppable, a rare show that united hardcore gamers, book readers, and casual fantasy fans alike. But while the world was cheering, subtle tensions were already brewing behind the scenes. Some writers reportedly didn't just dislike the source material, they openly mocked it. Former staff members hinted that the creative direction was shifting away from Andrzej Sapkowski's vision and towards something more Netflix-friendly. That might sound harmless, but for Henry Cavill, it was everything. He wasn't just there to play a role, he was there to protect the lore. In interviews, Cavill gave carefully worded responses, praising the crew while emphasizing the importance of staying true to the source. It was polite on the surface, but hinted at growing friction behind closed doors.
Now, there are some reviews which did like this series, such as Variety. Specifically, this article from Aramide Tenibu. Look, the pronunciation went a lot better than last time I tried. I'm a teen journalist that was crying that her clitlet was taken away from her with the savant. Though I can't help wondering that this review is basically just, a hankering for a certain somebody. And look, the review isn't all bad. She even brings up ironing just to solidify the patriarchy. Just make me laugh though, she brings up the opening sequence that recaps the events, when all it is the Where's Waldo of The Witcher, otherwise known as Where's Ciri.
Your entire being is dedicated to finding someone, your Ciri.
Whatever he's up to, Ciri's at the center of it.
She will be mine.
We need to save Ciri.
What if I can't save her? Will humanity survive another?
The creative team wanted to reinvent The Witcher, Cavill wanted to honor it. As the scripts drifted further from the original tone, so did the chemistry behind the scenes. What had started as enthusiasm began turning into quiet frustration. Cavill's dream role was slowly becoming a battle of ideals, and he was the only one still fighting for the story that fans had fallen in love with. Inside the halls of Netflix, things were starting to fracture. What began as creative differences quietly grew into a silent tug-of-war between Henry Cavill and The Witcher's writing team. Cavill wasn't just showing up to act, he came prepared, quoting from Sapkowski's novels, dissecting Geralt's psychology, and even adjusting dialogue to stay true to the lore. To fans, this level of commitment was heroic, but to some inside the writer's room, it was a problem. Reports began surfacing that certain writers didn't actually like the source material. Some allegedly mocked it. Others wanted to modernize the story, reworking lore, skipping book references, and softening the gritty moral grayness that defined The Witcher. To Cavill, this was heresy. He saw it as stripping the show of its soul. The tension reportedly reached a point where creative meetings turned uncomfortable. Cavill's insistence on faithfulness was seen as interference, while his passion was misunderstood as ego. He wanted to protect The Witcher, they wanted to reinvent it. What started as subtle disagreement began to feel like sabotage, a slow erosion of the story he loved. Fans began noticing the difference too. As Season 2 aired, complaints poured in. Geralt feels different. The writing's off. This isn't the same show. On Reddit and Twitter, whispers turned into theories. Was Cavill clashing with the team? Was his frustration visible on screen? Though nothing was confirmed at the time, the cracks were visible to anyone paying attention.
For Cavill, the breaking point wasn't dramatic, it was philosophical. It wasn't about contracts, fame, or money. It was about principle. He'd built his reputation on authenticity, from Superman to The Witcher. But when the creative heart of the series began to slip away, he faced a choice no artist wants to make. Stay and watch something you love fall apart, or walk away before it loses everything that made it special. And when he finally made his decision, it sent shockwaves through fandoms everywhere. Because deep down, everyone understood. Cavill wasn't quitting, he was standing up for something that mattered more than any paycheck or franchise: respect for the story itself. As Season 3 went into production, insiders reported that the tension between Cavill and the showrunners had reached an all-time high. Cavill was allegedly frustrated by script changes that ignored established lore and character development. He wanted Geralt to be complex, stoic, and emotionally restrained, not turned into a sarcastic action hero. According to multiple reports, Cavill pushed for revisions that would stay closer to the books, but instead of collaboration, it led to friction. At the same time, his career was entering chaos elsewhere. Warner Brothers had announced his return as Superman, only to later reverse the decision. It was a professional roller coaster, and The Witcher was no longer his creative sanctuary. He was tired of compromise. tired of watching something he loved being reshaped for mass appeal. For Cavill, walking away wasn't rebellion, it was survival. When he finally made the decision, it wasn't impulsive. It was the result of years of trying to fix something that refused to stay true to its roots. Then came the announcement that broke the fandom. After 4 years of donning the medallion and swords, my journey as Geralt has been filled with monsters and adventures, and now I pass the torch. With that one post, Cavill confirmed the rumors. Liam Hemsworth would take over as Geralt in Season 4. Fans were stunned. Social media exploded with disbelief, disappointment, and even anger toward Netflix. Petitions began circulating demanding Cavill's reinstatement, but the actor remained calm, offering nothing but respect and gratitude. Still, his tone carried finality, like someone closing a chapter he'd fought to keep open for too long. For viewers, it wasn't just an exit, it was betrayal. Cavill had been the reason many people watched the show, and replacing him, no matter how talented the next actor might be, felt like trying to rewrite history. But as the fandom's outrage grew, Netflix tried to spin the narrative. They called it a creative transition. Fans weren't buying it. They wanted answers, and the truth, as they discovered, was more complicated than anyone realized. What happened next was pure chaos. Online communities erupted into digital warfare, memes, hashtags, and full-blown video essays analyzing every second of Cavill's interviews for hidden meaning. The hashtag #BringBackCavill trended for weeks. Some crew members claimed anonymously that Cavill was difficult to work with, but fans saw through it. To them, this wasn't just about one actor leaving a show, it was a symbol of everything wrong with Hollywood's treatment of passion projects. Leaked rumors suggested deeper creative dysfunction on set. Writers allegedly disagreed not just with Cavill, but with each other, unsure whether to appeal to mainstream audiences or lore purists. Meanwhile, Netflix faced a PR nightmare. Each attempt to calm fans only made things worse. The series' Rotten Tomatoes audience score began to dip, and anticipation for future seasons evaporated. The Witcher had gone from Netflix's crown jewel to a cautionary tale in a matter of weeks. And yet, beyond all the noise, one truth remained. Cavill's exit wasn't a loss, it was a statement. Henry Cavill's departure from The Witcher became more than a casting headline. It became a symbol of a much larger struggle unfolding across Hollywood. It's the clash between creative passion and corporate power, between the storytellers who bleed for their craft and the decision-makers who see storytelling as a product line.
For years, audiences have felt something shift. Franchises that once meant everything to fans are now treated like interchangeable parts of a content factory. Cavill's fight for authenticity inside The Witcher wasn't about ego, it was about principle. He believed that if a story like The Witcher was going to exist on screen, it needed to carry the same soul that made it beloved in the first place. He wasn't just protecting Geralt's lore, he was protecting the bond between the audience and the art. But in the modern streaming era, passion isn't always welcome. Studios measure success through watch hours, algorithm curves, and demographic charts, not through whether a story feels right. Cavill was one of the few who still believed that storytelling should move people, not just meet quarterly targets. Inside that machine, his voice stood out, maybe too much. To the system, he wasn't just an actor, he was a disruption. And when the system values control more than authenticity, disruption doesn't survive. The reaction to his exit proved something powerful. Millions of fans around the world didn't just mourn Geralt, they mourned what his departure represented. They saw their own frustrations reflected in that moment. The heartbreak of watching franchises they once loved lose their identity. The exhaustion of being told that fans don't know what they want, when in truth, fans knew exactly what they wanted. Respect. Respect for the stories that raised them, for the characters that inspired them, and for the creators who built them from passion, not profit. And that's why Cavill's decision hit deeper than most Hollywood controversies. He didn't walk away in anger, he didn't rant or burn bridges, he simply said, through silence and action, that integrity mattered more than exposure. In an era where fame is currency, that kind of move is revolutionary. Across forums, fan pages, and YouTube channels, people began calling Cavill the last true fan in Hollywood. Whether that's fair or not doesn't matter. What matters is why people believed it. They saw someone who cared as much as they did, someone who represented the vanishing bridge between fandom and the film industry. And when that bridge collapsed, it forced everyone to ask, when did passion stop being enough? This wasn't just about The Witcher. The same story has played out again and again. From the Star Wars sequels rewriting beloved arcs to superhero films that feel more like boardroom spreadsheets than stories. The cycle is always the same. Artists build something from love, corporations take over, and fans are left staring at a hollow reflection of what once had meaning. Cavill's departure cut through that noise like a sword through armor. It reminded people that creativity doesn't belong to corporations, it belongs to those who believe in it. His exit wasn't a resignation. It was a rebellion, a quiet, dignified refusal to compromise on the very thing that made The Witcher worth watching in the first place. And maybe that's why his absence still lingers. Because Henry Cavill didn't just walk away from a show. He walked away from a system that forgot why people fall in love with stories at all. In doing so, he left behind more than a vacant role. He left behind a challenge. A reminder to every studio, every writer, every executive, that when you strip away the passion, the heart, and the belief, all you're left with is content. And content, no matter how expensive, can't replace magic. In the end, Henry Cavill's departure became more than just a casting change. It became a cultural turning point. He showed that loyalty to a story, to fans, and to authenticity still matters. Even as Netflix pushed forward without him, Cavill's version of Geralt remains the one people remember, not because of flashy visuals or big budgets, but because he believed in what he was doing. His stand wasn't dramatic or loud, it was quiet, professional, and deeply human. Maybe that's why his exit hit so hard. It wasn't just Geralt riding into the sunset, it was integrity walking out the door. And years from now, when people talk about The Witcher, they won't just debate seasons or storylines. They'll remember the moment when one actor reminded the world that passion still has power. Because in the end, Henry Cavill didn't just quit a show. He made a statement that will echo far beyond the continent.